Okay, so imagine this. You're a homeowner just outside of Philly, right?
Mm.
You step outside to grab the paper, and all of a sudden there's this guy hiding in your bushes.
Oh, wow.
But it's not just any guy,
Hmm.
right? It's this escaped convict who's been evading capture for days.
Oh, jeez.
That was the reality for folks living near Chester County Prison as escaped prisoner. Danilo Cavalcante basically turned their whole neighborhood into a real-life game of hide-and-seek.
Wow, like a manhunt.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And that's just one of the true crime stories we're diving into today.
It's so wild how these things, you hear about them, but they always seem so far away, and then suddenly it's like right in your backyard.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think what I find so fascinating about the Cavalcante escape is how much detail he gave up after they caught him.
Real.
Like he was talking about changing his appearance and even stealing a van and a gun.
Oh, wow.
And then he admitted there were a few times he was almost caught by the police during the 2 weeks he was on the run.
He was really trying to make it out there, huh?
Yeah, like he even said he was planning on carjacking someone so he could drive all the way to Canada.
Oh, my God.
I know, but all that planning couldn't outrun technology in the end.
That's true.
That thermal imaging really did him in.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to think that they can just, track heat signatures from the sky, even through all those trees.
I know, it's crazy.
It makes you realize just how much technology is changing these investigations, right?
Definitely gives law enforcement a big advantage.
For sure, for sure. Well, since we're on the topic of investigations, let's talk about a case where technology hasn't been able to give us such quick answers.
Yeah.
The disappearance of Crystal Rogers.
Oh, gosh, yeah. It's been 7 years since her family last saw her.
I know, 7 years, it's hard to even fathom.
Right. And for those who might not be familiar with this case, it's been a mystery from day one.
Absolutely.
Her car was found abandoned with all her stuff inside,
Right.
but no sign of her anywhere.
It's so unsettling. And to think she was a devoted mom,
Right. It just makes her disappearance all the more strange.
Yeah, but there has been a break in the case recently, right?
Yes. Finally, some movement.
Okay, good.
So authorities have arrested Joseph Lawson in connection with Crystal's disappearance.
Okay.
And he's facing charges of conspiracy to commit murder and evidence tampering.
Oh, wow. So they're thinking this was planned out?
It seems that way, yeah, like a deliberate attempt to cover up a crime.
That's chilling.
And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Eh.
The indictment against Lawson says he might not have acted alone.
So there could be others.
Right, exactly. It suggests that there might be more people involved, which of course opens up a whole other can of worms.
Wow, and we can't forget about the suspicions surrounding Crystal's boyfriend at the time.
Right, Brooks Hook.
Yeah, even though he's never been officially charged.
Right,
And to add another twist, Lawson has pleaded not guilty.
of course.
So it really seems like we're just starting to see some pieces of the puzzle come together.
Totally.
But there are still so many questions left unanswered.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Definitely a case we'll have to keep an eye on.
Absolutely, and maybe even do a whole deep dive on it in the future.
I think our listeners would be all over that.
Okay, so let's switch gears a bit and talk about a very different kind of courtroom drama going on in Idaho.
Okay.
This one is really raising questions about the role of media in the justice system.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's the trial of Brian Koberger.
Oh, right. The accused in that horrific quadruple murder case.
Exactly, and it's brought this whole debate about cameras in the courtroom front and center.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a big issue with a case this high profile.
Absolutely. So Koberger's defense team is completely against having cameras in the courtroom.
Makes sense.
They're saying all the media attention could influence the jury.
Right, and potentially lead to an unfair trial.
Right. And they're also concerned about the media, twisting things around and creating a biased story.
Oh, yeah, I can see that happening for sure.
And on the flip side, the families of the victims want the cameras there.
I wonder why.
They feel like it would actually help to counter any misinformation that's out there.
Oh, okay, so they see it as a way to make sure everything's transparent.
Exactly. And they also believe the public has a right to see what happens in the courtroom, especially in such a high-profile case.
That's a good point.
It's a tough situation, right?
Yeah, like a clash between Koberger's right to a fair trial and the public's right to know.
And the judge is right in the middle of it.
What a tough spot to be in.
It is. And the judge actually said he is worried about the media turning this into a spectacle.
Oh, yeah, like sensationalizing it.
Exactly.
But I imagine he also understands the importance of public access to this information.
Yeah, he does. He acknowledged that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he decided to wait on making a ruling about the cameras.
Yeah, tough to wait and see.
Exactly. So for now, the question of whether or not cameras will be allowed in the courtroom remains unanswered.
It'll be interesting to see how this all unfolds.
Totally. And what
Yeah.
kind of precedent it sets for future high-profile trials.
Good point. Okay, well, let's move on to a case that's been getting a lot of attention online.
Okay.
The 8 Passengers saga.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, the latest developments with Ruby Frank and Jodi Hildebrandt.
Right. So for anyone who might not know, this case revolves around allegations of child abuse connected to their YouTube channel.
Which used to be super popular.
It was, yeah. But things have taken a pretty serious turn recently, with both women facing medical issues while in jail.
Wow, really?
Yeah, reports are saying that Ruby was moved to a medical observation block and Jodi was actually hospitalized.
Oh gosh, that's adding a whole other layer of complexity to this situation.
Right. It makes you wonder what's really going on behind the scenes.
For sure, on top of their health issues, they're also dealing with those accusations from Ruby's own husband, Kevin.
Yes, exactly. He's been claiming that both Ruby and Jodi were manipulative.
Right, saying they had this undue influence over him and their family.
And he even went so far as to call Jodi the spearhead in the destruction of their family.
Oh, wow, that's a strong statement.
He basically blames her for the controversial parenting methods that got them into this legal trouble in the first place.
I see. So he sees her as the driving force behind it all.
Yeah, and to really push this point, Kevin's lawyer did an interview where he played audio clips that he claims are proof of this manipulation.
Oh, wow.
It definitely adds fuel to the fire.
It does, but it's important to remember that these are just allegations right now.
Yeah, for sure.
We need to hear all sides before making any judgments.
Absolutely innocent until proven guilty, as they say.
Exactly.
But speaking of different sides, Ruby's sister Bonnie recently made a video that's causing a stir online.
Oh, yeah, I saw something about that.
It seems like she's trying to separate herself from the situation.
Yeah,
But some people are saying her video just felt out of touch, given everything that's going on.
like maybe a little insensitive.
Yeah, maybe like she was more focused on her own life and what she's working on, which just felt odd, considering the serious allegations against her sister.
Yeah, it's definitely a strange reaction, but it does make you think about manipulation and accountability, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just because someone might have been manipulated, does that mean they're not responsible for their own actions?
That's a great question.
It's something we'll probably see debated more as this case goes on.
Yeah, where's the line between being influenced and being accountable?
Right. It's a tough one. No easy answers.
You know, it's interesting how all these cases we've talked about today are so different, but they all touch on some of the same big ideas.
You're right, like justice, accountability, the influence of technology, and how complex relationships can be.
Exactly.
And the crazy thing is, these stories aren't over yet.
Right. It's like we're just seeing a small part of what's happening.
Right, it's like we're just seeing a small part of what's happening.
Exactly. We're catching these investigations and legal battles in the middle of things.
And who knows what twists and turns are coming next.
That's what keeps us hooked, right?
Yeah, the anticipation, wondering what new evidence might come out or how justice will be served in the end.
It's like we're all amateur detectives trying to piece it all together. Totally. And that's the beauty of true crime, isn't it?
It is.
This glimpse into the human condition, both the good and the bad.
Yeah, seeing the dark side, but also those moments of resilience and hope.
And let's be honest, truth is often stranger than fiction.
No doubt.
And the pursuit of justice, it's rarely a straight path.
Definitely not a simple journey.
But it's one worth taking for
Yeah.
everyone involved and for society as a whole.
I agree.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive today,
Yeah.
I'm curious to know,
Yeah.
what case stood out to you the most or maybe surprised you?
Ooh, that's a tough one. But I think for me, it's the Crystal Rogers case.
Why is that?
That arrest after 7 years throws everything we thought we knew into question.
Yeah, it's a real game changer.
I can't wait to see what other secrets come out as they investigate further.
Me too. And do they find her?
Right.
So many unanswered questions.
Will they find more people involved?
Exactly. And I have a feeling we haven't heard the last of this case.
Oh, definitely not.
Maybe we even dedicate a whole deep dive to Crystal's story sometime.
Our listeners would love that.
Oh, okay. So in these other cases we've been talking about, they really show how complicated the journey to justice can be.
It's true. There are going to be unexpected turns, legal battles, moments where we question everything we thought we knew.
Absolutely. But that's also what makes true crime so captivating.
It does.
It's a look into the complexity of human nature, the imperfections of our systems, and this constant search for truth and accountability.
Yeah, and sometimes it's that search for answers that keeps us coming back for more.
It's true.
We want to understand what makes people do the things they do, learn from what happens, and hopefully prevent these kinds of tragedies in the future.
Totally keep those detective brains working. Everyone stay curious and stay informed.
Yes, and if you want to dig deeper into any of these cases, keep up with the news, do your own research, and of course, if you're looking for more in-depth analysis,
Check out our YouTube channel.
we love breaking down these fascinating cases over there.
And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more deep dives on all sorts of thought-provoking topics.
We're always on the lookout for stories that'll make you think, question things, and maybe even lose some sleep.
Because, let's face it, reality is way more interesting than anything we could make up.
That's for sure.
So until next time, keep those minds sharp and that curiosity high.
See you next time.
Yeah.
This case, it all centers around, allegations of child abuse, and it was all tied to their YouTube channel.
Right. 8 passengers.
Yeah, and it used to be so popular.
It was huge.
Yeah, so many people watched it, but things have gotten really serious now with both women having medical problems while they're in jail.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, there are reports that Ruby was moved to like a medical observation unit and Jody was even taken to the hospital.
Wow.
It's definitely a complicated situation.
Yeah, it makes you think what's going on behind the scenes there.
For sure. And on top of all that, they're also dealing with those accusations from Ruby's husband, Kevin.
Oh, right. He's been saying they were manipulative.
Yeah, like they had way too much influence over him and their family.
And he even called Jody the mastermind behind the whole thing.
Yeah, he said she was the spearhead behind the family falling apart, basically blaming her for all the questionable parenting techniques that got them in trouble in the first place.
And then Kevin's lawyer gave an interview and played these audio clips.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he says they're proof of the manipulation.
Wow.
It definitely adds another layer to all of this.
It does, but it's important to keep in mind those are just allegations at this point.
Right.
We need to hear everyone's side of the story before we jump to any conclusions.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly.
But speaking of different perspectives, Ruby's sister Bonnie just released a video, and it's causing a lot of talk online.
Oh, yeah. What's that about?
Well, it seems like she's trying to distance herself from everything that's happening.
Okay.
But some people are finding the video a bit insensitive.
Oh, how so?
Like they think she's more focused on her own life and her own projects, and it just feels kind of tone deaf considering what her sister is facing.
I can see that, but it does bring up an interesting question.
Totally.
This whole thing about manipulation and taking responsibility.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, like if someone was manipulated, does that mean they're not responsible for what they did?
Exactly.
It's something I'm sure will be a big part of this case as it moves forward.
It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Definitely no easy answers there.
It's amazing to me how these cases we're talking about, they're all so different.
Mm-hmm.
But in a way, they touch on some of the same big themes.
Yeah, like justice, accountability, the power of technology, the ups and downs of relationships.
Crazy, right?
Right? It is. And what's even crazier is that we're just seeing a small part of these stories.
Like a snapshot in time.
Yeah, who knows what twists and turns are waiting for us down the road.
And that's what keeps us coming back for more.
For sure, trying to figure out what happens next, what new evidence might come up, will justice be served?
I know, it's like we're all amateur detectives trying to solve the case.
And that's the appeal of true crime, I think.
Totally.
It's a window into what makes us human.
The good, the bad, and everything in between.
Seeing the darkness, but also the resilience.
It's a reminder that real life is often more unbelievable than anything we could imagine.
And the search for justice is hardly ever straightforward.
It's a journey with a lot of twists and turns.
But it's an important journey for everyone involved and for society as a whole.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So of all the cases we talked about today, which one left you with the most questions or maybe even surprised you the most?
Ooh, that's a tough one. But I gotta say, I think it's the Crystal Rogers case.
Yeah.
That arrest after all these years, 7 years. It just changes everything we thought we knew about this case.
It really does. It feels like a whole new chapter.
Exactly. And I can't wait to see what comes out as the investigation goes on.
Right. Like, do they find her?
Right. Do they find more people who are involved?
It's like we're finally getting some answers, but those answers are leading to even more questions.
Exactly.
And I have a feeling this case, it's not over yet.
Oh, definitely not.
Maybe we'll even do a whole deep dive just on Crystal stories sometime.
I think our listeners would love that.
Yeah, and these other cases we talked about today, they really highlight that the road to justice, it's rarely a straight line.
It's true. There are going to be so many twists and turns, legal battles, those moments where we question everything we thought we knew.
Exactly. But that's also what makes these stories so compelling, right?
Yeah.
It's that glimpse into human nature, the flaws in our systems, that constant struggle for truth and accountability.
And it's that search for answers that keeps us coming back for more.
That's true.
We want to understand what drives people to do the things they do and hopefully learn from these events so we can try to prevent them from happening again.
So true. So keep those detective minds working, everyone.
Yes.
Stay curious, stay informed, and if you want to go deeper into any of these cases, check out the news, do some of your own research, and of course, if you're looking for even more in-depth analysis,
Head over to our YouTube channel.
we break down all these fascinating cases over there.
And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more deep dives on all sorts of topics that will get you thinking.
We're always searching for those stories that make you think, question things, and maybe even lose a little sleep.
Because, let's be real, life is way more interesting than anything we could make up.
That's the truth. So until next time, keep those minds sharp and that curiosity high.
See you next time.